Breaking Bad, buy all of the things I never had. I wanna be on the cover of Forbes magazine, smiling.
All right, everybody. Who would love to not only be a millionaire, but love to be a billionaire? What's cracking, everybody? Money Smart guy Matt Sapaula here. I just want to wrap my head around this Last Dance documentary and just really kind of figure out how Michael Jordan made his money, because it's one thing to be a player, but it's another thing to be a billionaire. And Michael Jordan is considered the first ever billionaire athlete that ever lived. So, and many more have come after him, obviously. But really, I'm going to go over 5 things here, 5 areas, 5 categories of how Michael Jordan became a billionaire. And listen, I grew up with him as a fan. I was born and raised in the 80s and 90s of the 85 Chicago Bears, and obviously the late 80s and 90s Chicago Bulls. And watching the Last Dance documentary allowed me to finally watch the game, the drama, the things behind the scenes that I never picked up as a kid, which really parlays to how I look at money and business and entrepreneurship today. So in this video, I just want to share with you these categories. Maybe might help you out in your aspirations to not only become a multi-millionaire, but also a billionaire. And maybe pretty soon we're going to change this name of the YouTube channel to 7-Figure Squad to 9-Figure Squad. So looking forward to that happening. So number 1, consider this perspective. For every typical American that spends $1, Michael Jordan is so rich he can spend, for every $1 that a typical American spends, he can spend $21,000. Right? So think about that. For every $1 that a typical American spends, Michael Jordan can afford to spend $21,000 because of the wealth he's being able to accumulate. So number 1, Michael Jordan was drafted 3rd overall in 1984 draft. And I thought, because I see these players that are making all these millions of dollars, especially the number 3 overall pick in the NBA. Do you realize what Michael Jordan's first year salary was as a 3rd pick overall in the NBA draft? Let's take a look. Michael Jordan, 84-85, got paid $550,000. That's it. $550,000 his first year as an NBA player in 84-85. And what blows my mind away, last year's pick, number 1 pick, overall pick, Zion Williamson, if that's a barometer or a ballpark, he's getting paid $44 million for a 4-year contract. It completely blows my mind away how much money our players are making today. Zion Williamson today signs a $44 million contract. Michael Jordan back in the day signs a $2.8 million contract over a 4-year period. Another thing here too as well, speaking of putting the work in, putting the effort in, putting the greatness on, to go from good to great. Michael Jordan put the greatness on in the game of basketball. But think about this though. How many people there are overworked and underpaid? How many people in America today feel that they're overworked and underpaid? Do you feel you're overworked and underpaid, that you bring so much value to your company, to your business, to your community, to the marketplace, that you happen to be an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur and you're working for a company? Well, think about this real quick. Michael Jordan played for 12 seasons. 12 seasons, won 4 NBA titles, won 4 MVPs before his 13th season when he finally got paid, before he became the number 1 overall highest paid player in the entire NBA. That's what blew my mind. So we're looking at here, like Michael Jordan's paid $550,000, $630, $737, $845. It wasn't until he signed a second contract with the Bulls, he started making $2 million a year, $2.2 million, $2.5 million a year. It wasn't until 1996, 1997, right? We're approaching this whole Last Dance documentary time frame, that he finally gets paid $30 million for a season. Took him 12 years to finally get paid to be the number 1 overall paid player in the NBA. He put in work. He put the parameters of championships, MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, all these different things, slam dunk champion, before he became the number 1 overall player in the NBA. Consider that. So that's number 1, salary. Number 2, how else did Michael Jordan make his money? He made his money through endorsements. I'm looking through endorsements. I'm thinking about companies he signed with: Chevrolet, Hanes, Gatorade, Wheaties, Upper Deck, McDonald's, Coke. But one company overall paid him over $1 billion of cash flow since the inception of them signing a contract with Michael Jordan. Do you know what that company is? I'm pretty sure you know the company. That company was Nike. Nike, right? Allowed him to build his brand on the Nike platform. Basically, $1.3 billion Nike has paid Michael Jordan since 1984. And I consider this. That was during a time where Michael Jordan's like, who do I sign with? Who would I sign with? His agent sets up this meeting with Nike. Michael Jordan's like, well, in college I wore Adidas. I really love to sign with Adidas, and I wore Converse in college. And he had such a kinship and loyalty towards Adidas, he reluctantly, according to the documentary, takes this meeting with Nike, who's really a running shoe, track shoe type of company, and they sent him up with the deal. He says, okay, I appreciate the deal, I'm not signing up, but let me take that deal. Adidas, Yo, Adidas, let me get back to you. Can you match this offer? Anywhere close? If anywhere close, I'm going to wear Adidas. What did Adidas say? Nah, we pass. Go sign with Nike. Now think about this real quick. Adidas was at the time in the NBA in the 84 season that they were 50% the head of revenue of Nike. Their current revenue was 50% ahead by Nike, and they were going to surpass Nike by 1987. And they passed on Michael Jordan. Converse, everybody's wearing Converse. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Dr. J. They're wearing Converse. The shoe of the NBA was Converse. And Michael Jordan goes opposite of everybody. And where's Nike? And where's the Jordan shoe as we know today? And here's a cool thing about the Jordan shoes. Let me talk specifically about the Jordan shoes. Last year, the shoes, Jordan Corporation brought into Nike over $3.1 billion in revenue. Holy moly, $3.1 billion in revenue. They're considered 8%, the percentage-wise of Nike, they're considered 8% of Nike. And the capitalization, if Jordan Corporation was on its own, the valuation of the Jordan brand within inside Nike is considered $10 billion. Unbelievable. Let me go more specific. What really flips my mind is what Nike's expectations were, right? They had some expectations. So they signed him to a $500,000 contract over a 5-year period to sign with Nike. And their goal said, Michael, listen, if we're going to have this contract, we have to have a sales goal. We have to sell X amount of Nikes. We have to sell amount of shoes that you are wearing. We've got a goal. And if you don't meet that goal, we have 2 years before the contract ends to withdraw from that deal. Blows my mind away. Check this out. Their goal, guess what the goal was? 5 years. Nike says we have a 5-year goal. You know what the goal was? $3 million. $3 million. $3 million of sales from Jordan's shoe over a 5-year period. And think about this though. This is how business people think. Listen, if we're going to pay Michael Jordan $500,000 over a 5-year period, we expect $3 million back. See, that's opportunity cost, opportunity leverage. See, that's why entrepreneurs invest. So if you're thinking, or you're watching the show because you want to think like a millionaire, have strategy like a millionaire, and obviously execute and become a millionaire, you got to think, in order to get some, you got to be willing to invest. So here's what Jordan did. Guess what he sold in his first year? He became the rookie of the year, slam dunk check, the whole thing, right? Just blows away the league. He comes in the league, guess what he sells? It wasn't $3 million. It wasn't $5 million. It wasn't $10 million. Folks, he sold $126 million in shoes in the first year. Talk about outplaying your contract. Sold $126 million of shoes in his first year. Amazing. So talk about a partnership. And by the way, think about this. Couldn't Michael Jordan just go off and start his own shoe company? Why do you stick with Nike? For some of you who are thinking, I want to think like a millionaire and become a billionaire, think about the power of co-branding. The power of Michael Jordan co-brand with Nike. Instead of trying to create his own shoe company, he just co-branded. Listen, let me get on your platform. You do what you do, which is become a great shoe company, and let me do what I do, which is what? Become an awesome basketball player, the greatest of all time. Think about that. Which was going to foreshadow to my closing thoughts. Okay, but here's the thing too as well. So number 1, salary. Number 2, endorsements. Number 3, shoes. Got to be the shoes, right? 4th way Michael Jordan make his money towards his billions. Ownership. Not just like a player, but ownership of who? The Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte Bobcats, Charlotte Hornets. So he purchased the team as well as absorbing their debt in 2010 for $180 million. So check this out. When you're looking at Michael Jordan, the purchase is paying off for the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, it's paying off. Why? Check this out. He actually bought the team here. He bought the team. Where is it here? He seized control right there from Bob Johnson by paying $180 million. The team's just got 3 playoff appearances. Okay. And he bought the team, and guess what happens in the meantime? What happens in the meantime, this knucklehead decides to make some racist comments, named Donald Sterling. And guess what the NBA forced him to do? NBA forced him to sell his team. And he was kind of pissed off, ticked off. Now it's his ex-wife, blah, 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 blah. They went through it. They went through an appraisal of the LA Clippers. Okay, that was his team that he owned. He made a racist comment while watching the LA Clippers game, his own team. If you guys remember that, I think it was his ex-wife recorded the whole conversation of him making racist undertones. Anyway, the NBA forces him to sell his team. He says, okay, you're forcing me to sell the team. Great, I want top dollar for this team. He creates an appraisal. Appraise my team. Boom, appraisal team. Guess who he sells to? Steve Ballmer, Microsoft CEO, the guy that was a business partner of Bill Gates, right? Another entrepreneur, right? He didn't put all the risk out to create Microsoft. No, he became a great employee of Microsoft and built Microsoft to what it is today. But he was an entrepreneur. And even in his multi-billion fortune, he bought the NBA team, the LA Clippers, for $2 billion. $2 billion. So what do you think it did to Michael Jordan's ownership of the Charlotte Hornets? Just think about this real quick. Let's say you have a property. I'm just using a round number. Let's say you have a property. It's worth, Seven-figure squad, right? It's worth $1 million, right? Your house is worth $1 million. The neighbor who has the same type of property across the street from you, same bedrooms, square footage, bathrooms, amenities, sells it for $2 million. Guess what happens to your $1 million valuation property? It now has the same market value as the neighbor across the street that sold the same like-kind property as you, compared to market analysis. Now your house is worth $2 million. So think about this. If Donald Sterling sells his team for $2 billion, guess what now? The LA Clippers sold it for $2 billion, and guess what happens to every team in the NBA? Their value went up. Guess what happens to Michael Jordan's wealth in the Charlotte Hornets? It went up. And so when you're looking at his valuation today, it's considered the 25th most valuable team in the NBA. Big reason why Michael Jordan became a billionaire. Interesting thing here, fun fact here. Last year, in 2019, he actually sold a 20% stake to an investment group. Okay, Michael Jordan's still a majority owner of the team, but based on the $1.5 billion valuation of the Charlotte Hornets, Jordan made about $300 million off that deal. Almost double what the original owner, Bob Johnson, paid for the team. So by ownership, buying low and selling high, ownership, boom, $300 million. Whew, amazing. Still owner of the team, majority controlling owner. Okay. Other areas that Michael Jordan has made investments, have became a billionaire. He's invested in companies like Sports Radar, Music, Gigster, Axiomatic. I thought it was pretty interesting. Axiomatic is an esports company. So you're telling me a basketball player is buying ownership of gaming? For gamers? Interesting investment. Also, Michael Jordan owns tequila called Cincoro. You know, some of the bottles cost $1,600 a bottle. Some expensive taste there too as well. Michael Jordan also owns part of an investor group that purchased the Florida Marlins for $1.2 billion. His ownership in the investor group is 1%. I guess this is Michael Jordan's return to baseball as an owner, not as a player, as an owner. And lastly, Michael Jordan owns Cornerstone Restaurant Group, which has restaurants in Michael Jordan's name. We actually were invited to his grand opening here in Oak Brook a couple years ago when he opened here the Michael Jordan's restaurant. So it's interesting when we had a cigar with Michael Jordan and we're having a conversation. We're having a conversation. Michael Jordan's right across from us, and he was just pushing, challenging everybody. What type of business? What type of business? What are you doing to increase your business? Which is amazing because Michael Jordan's still very competitive till this very day. And you know, the Last Dance documentary revealed, you know, he was worried about his legacy. Is he worried that other people have this opinion on him? And which I can't believe. Even Michael Jordan has still some insecurities. But either way, he's still a billionaire. You know, his decision that he's made has made him a lot of money. His children are blessed because of his decisions. His fellow players are blessed because of the decisions. What about the Chicago Bulls? The Chicago Bulls are definitely blessed. I think they're the fourth most highest valued franchise in the NBA, the Chicago Bulls. They're blessed because of Michael Jordan's presence. They're blessed by the legacy that the Bulls created in the Chicago Bulls. And I say all that to say this. So many people around Michael Jordan are blessed because, you know, he became what he became, obviously outside the money. But all that said, do you know the reason why he became a millionaire, multi-millionaire, decamillionaire, 100+ millionaire, now billionaire? Is because of this. He decided to become a player, and he became the GOAT. He became a player, and he decided to become the greatest of all time. And he put it on paper. And he says in the Last Dance document, I get all this stuff because of what I did on the court. I get all these endorsements, I get all these deals because of what I did on the court, because I won the game. I won championships. Every opportunity for me to present itself for me to be the greatest amongst my peers, to rise above, to stand on the shoulders of the giants before him, to say I performed better than some of these guys in the past, because I'm the GOAT. I'm the greatest of all time. Now, by the way, some of you guys may say, oh, no, LeBron's the GOAT, Kobe's the GOAT. No, I'm sorry, guys. If you saw and watched and really took in what Michael Jordan did in the 80s and the 90s with the Chicago Bulls, hands down, it's got to be the GOAT. If you don't think he's the GOAT, it's either you are part of a team that lost to him, you didn't really understand the game of basketball, or you're just simply a hater and a troll, whatever the case may be. But anyway, I'm going to argue with you that he's the GOAT, man. No bias here outside of me wearing his jersey, wearing his shoes. And my encouragement to you, if you want to go out there and make millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, even having high aspirations of making $1 billion, consider being one of the greatest in your industry. If you're in real estate, be the greatest in real estate. If you are in engineering, be the greatest engineer. If you're an architect, be the greatest architect. If you're a greatest tax person, be the greatest tax person. If you're in the insurance business, consider being one of the greatest insurance people in the insurance business. But you got to say, you know what? Who's the biggest, greatest people in my industry? And if what I do on the court, if what I do in the boardroom, not necessarily on the hardwood, but not necessarily in a playing field, but what I do in the boardroom. See, here's the thing: I didn't have the talent to become a professional athlete, right? But I have an opportunity to be a great entrepreneur. I consider myself an entrepathlete, where I get to be an entrepreneur, right? My sport is business, right? My sport is, I'm an athlete in the business world. And I'm taking the same things that Mike was thinking about being the greatest of all time. I'm taking it right now and applying it to my field, my business. And I'll never say I'm the greatest of all time. What did Michael Jordan say? If you say the greatest of all time, you're not the greatest of all time. You allow other people to tell you you're the greatest of all time. My wife and I, we're here to earn that. My wife and I are here to put in the work. I know I got a solid 15 years ahead of me. By then I'll be in my early 60s, but I'm putting my time into this industry. I'm in the insurance business. I'm in the insurance industry. But guess what? Everybody in my industry, I'm calling you all out. We're going to be one of the greatest of all time in the insurance industry, because you know why? Because I'm willing to put the work in. Some of you guys are already retired. Some of you guys are kicking back and you're, $1 million income, $2 million income, $10 million income. No. I'm not tied. I'm not tying my success to money. Michael Jordan never tied his success to money. He tied it for the love of the game. He tied it to the love of basketball. I love being in business. I consider it an honor to be in business. I consider it an honor to be an entrepreneur in this country, the United States of America. And I think it's only right that I make the most of what these veterans, this military, this personnel that served before me to fight for this country, fight for freedom, fight for free enterprise, capitalism, all these different things that we fight for, our ability to vote, our ability to have free speech, our freedom of press, all these different rights that we have. I owe it to the people before me to give them the very best of me. Now, some of you guys, you think that's corny and whatever the case may be. Listen, that's how I'm wired. That's how I'm driven. If I was driven by title, if I was driven by money, I would quit a long time ago. I remember talking to a guy when I first got into the industry. I asked this guy because I was making $50,000 a year is my first couple of years in the insurance business. He says, I asked him, I said, man, sell me the dream, man. What's the greatest thing about making $750,000 a year? You know what his answer was to me? Here's his answer to me. His answer to me is, the greatest thing about making $750,000 a year is not having to get up in the morning, because I don't have to. It was at that moment I knew I'm going to run circles around this guy. It was at that moment I knew he didn't want to be the greatest. He just wanted to be better than how he grew up, however he grew up. Listen, I'm past that. I'm past how I grew up. I'm past how things weren't handed to me in the best circumstances were handed to me. I'm here to be the greatest. What I can be in my entire life, that's my wiring. It's not tied to money. It's not tied to contract. Not tied to title. It's tied to saying, let me look back. If you put me in the ground, when you put me in the ground, man, that guy gave everything he had to his sport, in this case, which is business. So with that being said, I love to know your thoughts, love to know your comments, love to know what your feedback is. Maybe some of you guys, man, the great of all time is kind of big aspiration for it. No problem. I'm not telling you to. I'm maybe encouraging some of you, a few of you are encouraged by that, but I can say the majority, because do you really want to be like Mike? It's a lot of sacrifice. Leadership, he said in the documentary, leadership has a sacrifice. Winning has a sacrifice. I want to win big for my family. I don't know why. Maybe I just want to inspire 3, 4, 5 generations after me that if you put your time and attention into something and you lead the way, you don't let their circumstances define you, you define it. It's my legacy. I want my kids, my great-great-grandkids to always remember that. When life deals you a bad hand, you can make the best of it and still be the greatest of all time. That being said, appreciate you guys. If you haven't been following us yet, follow the 7-Figure Squad. Follow us on YouTube. Make sure you click like, subscribe to our channel, hit notifications, be alerted the next time we upload our next episode. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure you click like, mash that like button, drop your comments below and let me know what you're thinking. If you're following us on Instagram, make sure you follow the 7-Figure Squad and myself, Money Smart Guy. Love to know your thoughts, feedback, drop it in the comments below. That being said, guys, stay healthy, stay safe, and consider being the greatest of all time. That being said, till we meet again. Continue to live smart, continue to love smart, be money smart today.